ever, and open field was set on his first day of trade. The sun's emerging red blended with the night's fading black seamlessly. Ashwatthama brought to a Michael and astonishment. Nonsense. About home to makeshift rocket platform, where an assortment of ancient metallic weapons had been placed upright on stood raised and cautiously. The darkness setup was completely opposite of his expectations. He had expected such weapons to have, along with the warriors who wielded them, to at least be invested if they had been present at home. But there they were right in front of his eyes, along with one of the vanished warriors who had used these weapons once. More carefully moved closer to his eyes, and each one of those weapons immediately. Initially, his gaze came to a rest on a cooler full of arrows. He wondered out loud, what about those modern weapons that you had brought along to rescue me at the island? Those pistols and rifles were way more advanced and sophisticated than these simple arrows. Are not you going to train with those? Why have you brought out suddenly? The tip of the arrow he had touched there just a signifying 40 feet into the air. The same Morgan Savannah was the kind found in a high tension transmission wire traveled through his whole body, tossed him back to like the ground like burnt toast. The shock was more than sufficient to kill an ordinary man, and all despite being also rarely survived. The right side of his body was completely charred, exposing the bones that his skin was sticking to, and his nerves were as black as ink. He was so gravely wrecked that he could not get back to his feet. He lay on the ground grunting. He lay on the ground, grunting, trying to understand what had just happened. As Holmes wound healed slowly on their own, Ashwatthama clasped the safe arrow and walked towards home. His friend was today never went over yesterday, and neither can tomorrow. The foundation of all science is ancient science, which is now mostly trapped in books scattered around the world. Many have even been destroyed. More than half of ancient science is yet to be discovered and deciphered. What is proclaimed? Hi, hi, Black Pearl. What is proclaimed to have been invented is actually just discovery of principles. Good night. Inventions that ancient scientist. I'm studying novel. I'm reading novel. Sorry. This mathematicians, physicians, and geniuses had already experimented with and written about millennia ago. Shushrut thought the Shushrut Samhita uniquely describing surgical training, instruments, and procedures. Uh, it's The Hidden Hindu by Akshat Gupta, Part 2. From Uttar Pradesh. सब्सक्राइब कर देना सब लोग प्लीज़ 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 एंड डबल टैप lots of surgical training instrument procedure which is still followed by the previous science of science surgery. Modern inventions are nothing but discoveries of science. During the prehistoric ages, which the world calls mythology now, planes in the part of the planet have flown way before the invention of so-called airplanes came by the Wright brothers in 1903. The distance यस आई एम कॉन्सेंट्रेटिंग. आप सब्सक्राइब कर दो. Red Brothers. Whether it brothers in 1900, the distance between the earth and the sun, that is, this has already been calculated, written in the Hanuman Chalisa aeons ago, even before my birth, not after 1653. We have been praying to the nine planets since before the Ramayana, not after the invention of telescope in 1608. Do you really think that people who wrote and implemented intricate books like the Viman Puran, which today's scientists have now started finding relevance in, had never contemplated the presence of Gurutvakarsan? No. Which was later called gravitational force. Do you think that writing a comprehensive Quran on flying would have been possible without a precise understanding of gravitational force? A Sanskrit verse from Brahma Gupta's book Brahma Puta Siddhant says a body falls toward the earth as it is the nature of the earth to attract bodies, just as it is nature of water to flow. No. रीड दिस बुक एंड आपको पता चल जाएगा कि साइंस क्या है. इमेजिनरी नहीं है. एक बार पढ़ के देखना. एक बार अक्षत गुप्ता की हिडन हिंदू एक बार पढ़ के देखना, पता चल जाएगा साइंस क्या है और स्टूपिडिटी क्या है. It's Brahmagupta's grasp of the concept of gravity, which was later elaborated by another Indian astronomer, Bhaskara II, in his book Surya Siddhant in 1150. एक बार सब लोग ज़रूर पढ़ना, फिर पता चलेगा साइंस और हिंदू माइथोलॉजी. Occurred way before Isaac Newton. Brahmagupta died in 668 CE and Bhaskar II wrote his book in 1150. Newton's Principia, which describes gravity, was published in 1687, which was more than 500 years later. Contemporary science and modern artillery are no match for the knowledge of ancient science and the power and destruction that these ancient weapons possess. I use modern weaponry on Rose Island, the weakest among all the weapons I have mastered. They were enough to rescue you from humans, but what cannot be fought with those toys. It's about future prediction and Hindu mythology, जो कि mythology नहीं है, truth है. Yes, I'm explaining. जो आप लोगों को लगता है कि साइंटिस्ट ने पता किया अर्थ और सन के बीच का. आश्रय शट अप एंड स्टडी. अब क्या मैं स्टडिंग. उन्होंने पूछा एक्सप्लेन करो तो मैं एक्सप्लेन कर रही थी. सॉरी, आई एम स्टडिंग. भाई जिसको भी सुनना हो बुक पढ़ लेना. By this time, much of Om's tissues have been distorted, but he still struggled to stand up on his feet. Ashwatthama bent and tightened Rudraksh on his unharmed left arm. With this, we start the Guru Shishya tradition. I will teach you about all the astras I possess. Ashwatthama said as he initiated his teachings. Rule number 1: never touch a weapon that you have not possessed. You cannot hold it unless it allows you to. Imagine a furious saber-tooth on a leash with its master Vrishkapi. What will happen if you try to hold the tiger's leash? The saber-tooth will tear you apart. He will never allow anyone but his master to come close to him. You can only interact with him after you befriend him. You can only order him once you have mastered him. These weapons they submit to you, but for that you need to know them, learn them, and win them over. These weapons are divine weapons called astras, and the bearer of these weapons is called Astradhari, which you clearly not so far. By this time, the sun had risen higher in the sky, causing the shining metallic arrow to lose its radiance and turn into an ordinary corroded one, just the way Om had imagined earlier. I of what you just told me about the stars, but I did not know they could still be in existence. Om replied, amazed. His remaining burns and abrasions continued to heal, and Ashwatthama gave him a hand to get help him get back up on his feet. Summoning on an astra requires the use of specific chant. Every astra has a chant that commands and controls it. So once the chant is recited, the concerned god endows the weapon with divine power, making it impossible to counter by regular means. There are specific conditions for the use of astras, the violation of which can be fatal. Because of the great power involved, the knowledge of an astras is passed on in the Guru Shishya tradition from a Guru Master to a Shishya follower by oral instructions only, and only after judging the capabilities of the student. Certain astras were so mighty that the mere knowledge of the chant was insufficient, so they had to be handed down directly by the deity involved. The existence use of astras began during the time of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Yet not every warrior had astras. You have met some of those who did. Ashwatthama was right. Om had indeed met some of them, including Lord Rama and Lord Lakshman, Bhishma, the son of River Ganga, Dronacharya, Ashwatthama's father, Karna, the son of the sun, spiritual son of the sun, and Arjun, the spiritual son of Indra. The three who still have astras are Parshuram, Kripachar, and I. Om's eye twinkled as the name of the third immortal of Hindu mythology fell on his ears. Kripacharya. Where is he? That is not known. He comes only when needed, and only I can summon him. Ashwatthama replied with a hint of pride. The celestial astras are usually evoked using arrows, although they can potentially be evoked by any weapon or anything else. कृपाचार्य महाभारत में कृपाचार्य थे, हाँ थे, कुलगुरु थे. That is not known. He comes only. Temple. Brahmastra using a blade of grass as my weapon. Indra's son Arjuna was capable of shooting all his celestial weapons with the power of his mind alone. He did not need any physical vessel for the astra to manifest in. Ashwatthama then brought Om back to the weapons that looked like innoxious antique armaments in the sunlight. They were only empty vessels. Their power was channeled through the celestial astras. These are some of the astras that I possess. Ashwatthama said, picking up one in his hand. This is Vayu Astra. It brings about hurricane capable of lifting entire armies off the ground. On the 14th day of the war in Kurukshetra, when the battle continued past sunset, I used this weapon to breach the illusion that Anjaparvan, the grandson of Bhim and the son of Ghatotkacha, had created. Arjuna also used the Vayustra against Karna in the final battle. So saying Ashwatthama put the arrow back in the quiver. Now sit down and meditate to invoke Vayu and the god of wind. This will take 5 whole days to prepare yourself. Repeat the chant after me. Ashwatthama sat down and started chanting with Om, repeating his words. The entire open field reverberated with their vibrations. The ground, the grass, the wind, the sky, everything seemed like one being. Days passed and the chants echoed constantly on Kailash. Meanwhile, Nagendra and his team, with their heavily packed bags, passed Jhogamba and Darchin, inching closer to their final destination. A freezing temperature minus 14 Celsius degree and LSD shivering relentlessly and walking with Parimal behind Nagendra through the final highs and lows to the train. Parimal noticed that Nagendra had come to a halt and was walking, looking at the view in front of them. Parimal and LSD joined him. A reflection of Mount Kailash was visible on the surface of the majestic lake. They stood there for a while, admiring and soaking in the serenity. The setting sun merging with the horizon added a striking shimmery hue to the lake's surface, and it seemed that the whole cosmos had simply melted into it. The freshness of the atmosphere around them washed away their struggle and exhaustion. At an altitude of 22,028 feet above sea level, the sight of that abode of totally nestled in the lap of nature left both LSD and Parimal awestruck. The mystical lake around with clear blue water around the shores and emerald green in the center gave them a moment of bliss. Emerging from her revive, LSD said breathlessly. So we were not headed for Mount Kailash. Where are we? Parimal still mesmerized, started explaining. This is Lake Mansarovar. Manas means mind and Sarovar means lake in Sanskrit, which compounded from lake of the world. मुझे पढ़ते समय बहुत नींद आती है. In the scriptures say that Brahma had conceived this lake in his mind and received visible manifestation later. Thus, the name Lake Mansarovar is a personification of purity, and one who drinks its water supposedly goes straight to the abode of Shiva after death. They are believed to be cleansed of all sins committed over even 100 lifetimes. The existence of such magnificent freshwater lake at such height above sea level is indeed remarkable. Both LSD and Parimal trusted and said they had come. Nagin looked at them and repeated that we are here to search for a word, the first word of majestic enchantment that will liberate them all. Look for a hideout between the rocks that could conceal our lights at night, set up 2 tents and wait for the right time. Agnes silently got to work without asking the first word of which majestic enchantment liberate whom. On the eve of the crescent moon, right before sunset, Om opened his eyes after 5 days. Look at Ashwatthama instructed him to stand and pick up the Vayushastra. Om seemed a bit hesitant. Ashwatthama smiled and assured him he would not be hurt again. Om lifted the Vayushastra and felt its power coursing through his word. He had done it. Ashwatthama beamed at his disciple proudly and gave him a warm hug. Well done. Om, go to sleep now. You have not slept a wink in 5 nights. You need to rest. I shall see you tomorrow at dawn, said Ashwatthama, relieving Om from their long meditation. Om obeyed the order just the way Energy and Parimal obeyed their superior. The sun withdrew and darkness replaced twilight. The temperature at Mansarovar dropped even slower. LSD and Parimal were done setting up the tents in an appropriate hideout between the rocks. As they finished wandering hideout between wondering why they were supposed to put up two tents instead of three. Nagendra came and ordered them both to walk with him to the west of Mansarovar. They shared a look and joined Nagend in the darkening light. The sky was steady, but moon was not visible. They tramped through the pitch black alongside Nagendra. LSD took out a torch, but before she could switch it on, Nagin stopped. Light is celebrated only due to the fear of the dark. Without evil, goodness has no value. As Mansarovar was the calmest of all lakes, even in the worst climatic conditions, serenity wrapped the air round them till the sound of the waves rippled through the quietness. They advanced a few more. If we have not come here for Mansarovar or the Kailash Patrik, said Nagendra, moving closer to the sound waves. As they walked on the west bank of Mansarovar, Parimal and LSD wondered where the sound could possibly be coming from. The crashing of the waves grew louder with every step. After a few minutes, they felt as if they had reached some vast shore. Nagendra stopped and looked up into the sky. LSD and Parimal wondered what Nagendra was searching for. They had been waiting patiently for almost an hour when the sky began to brighten slowly with moonlight, and then emerged the moon in its perfect crescent, illuminating the land around them in a silver mist. LSD and Parimal's eyes fell upon the source of the sound, crashing waves as Nagendra addressed them. We have come here for the first word. It was another lake they were now standing close to, its shore covered with beautiful but poisoned euphorbia flowers that grew amid the sand and gravel. Nagendra explained further. This is Rakshasthal, 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 also called the Ravan Lake, or the Lake of Demons. Rakshasthal was created by Ravan for the express purpose of garnering superpowers through acts of devotion and meditation towards Lord Shiva, who resided on Mount Kailash. He would make a daily offering with one of his 10 heads as a sacrifice to please Shiva. Finally, on the 10th night, when Ravan intended to offer his last prayer, Shiva was moved enough to grant Ravan his wish to harness superpowers. It was on a crescent moon night that his wish was fulfilled, and so the lake acquired the shape of the crescent moon. Tonight, all the planets and the moons are aligned in their exact same position as that night. Thousands of years ago, it was same night, the same month, the same moon in the crescent shape when Ravan met Shiva here. Rakshasthal is said to have a close resemblance to the moon. The desolation of the lake is often compared to the emptiness of the moon. Mansarovar remains tranquil and uh, undisturbed forever, whereas the much smaller crescent shaped Rakshasthal is always turbulent, irrespective of weather, while Mansarovar excludes an inviting aura, spontaneously gives away its water or bathing or drinking. No one even dares to come near the agile Rakshasthal. They are scared by its tempter's appearance. Even touching the water of Rakshasthal is strictly prohibited. Wait, are you? Here explained further. This lecture also Raman Lake Express month. Nagin took off all his clothes, started walking naked into the freezing water with half his body submerged into Raksha's. Today, started playing a screaming with us. And gave him two underwater bombs going into the enemy fire. Raksha's divided by the thin has been extinguished of these waters. Just forces, but not anymore. Go and search for the weakest underwater bracket. You have 3 hours. Search of the first forecast. Maybe some way. And says there is no chance. So there is actually no error. 3 cities. Because no balance factor. So is down. Intent tables. Step out. The water was monitor the shortly in the dark but just Earth overheated nearly 20 feet in the orbit 2 hours and found a natural gravity where he could not the grounds with the detonator in his hand maintaining a safe distance. While Nagin meditated in the place, it should have announced a wedding. His heart was racing with the his face to the child between his directions to Mary. Strong